Lord Mayor, I've had to make a number of difficult tributes over the years, and this is one of those. I joined the Liberal Party in 1961. I joined it for one reason, and that was the Liberal Party was the only party that was in favour of Europe, and I retain that. Dennis Minnis was an agent, as Lisa has said, for the Liberal Party, and had been part and parcel of the victory in Orpington that saw Eric Lubbock returned with an overwhelming majority. I met Dennis the year after. We were both living, Dennis lived in Bonfield Road in Billesley. I lived in Brandwood. We were both members of the Hall Green Liberals, and Dennis led somewhat of a peripatetic life, being an agent all over the country, and eventually we met up. And right from the start, because of the fact that Dennis had been part and parcel of Orpington, I was in awe of Dennis Minnis. Dennis Minnis, I was only 18, 19, said at the time, with a name like Tilsley, you should stand in Billesley. Of course, Tilsley for Billesley had a certain ring to it. Although I have to say that Theresa Stewart didn't like it terribly, but, you know, at the end of the day, you're born with your name, aren't you? You can't do a great deal about it. It took 20 years for that to happen, but it did happen in 1986. Anyway, I was elected in 1968. 23, so you can work out how old I am now. Dennis was my agent, and another Minnis was my sub-agent, Harold Minnis, who came up from Cornwall. Dennis was a remarkable individual, as Lisa has said. As agent in Birmingham, he was responsible for the election of a remarkable number of councillors from the Liberal tradition. Obviously myself, Graham Gopsall, Bill Doyle, Bill Hughes, Sue Anderson, Christine Edge, later changed the name to Christine Ransom-Wallace, Andrew Tonkis, David Loscombe and Dave Bennett. It was quite a remarkable pedigree to have. Lisa mentioned courage. I managed to be a member of the Liberal group, having been elected in May 1968, for exactly 6 weeks before I was expelled. And I was expelled over a fundamental issue. And there was a motion before this chamber to prohibit all immigration into Birmingham. Believe it or believe it not.
Carry on, please. Paul.
Anyway, Dennis and I had long conversations over the situation, and despite the fact that the motion was supported, and this is important, by the leader of the Conservative group, the leader of the Labour group and the leader of the Liberal group, there was one vote against it, and that was mine. And it's something I'm quite proud of. And Dennis stood by me and gave me the courage to fight on. And it was a fight. It was a fight for the simple reason that Dennis wanted to become a councillor. And like all political parties, one of the things that political parties don't like is agents becoming councillors because it muddies the water. But Dennis wanted to become a councillor and was selected as the candidate in Duddeston Ward. And in 1969 he was elected. But this led to total ructions within the Liberal Party at the time, because the old guard were totally and utterly opposed to what was happening. And there were emergency meetings and busloads of people were bussed in to vote one way or the other. It was an extraordinary time. But politics at the time were exciting. Dennis fought 2 general elections. The first was in All Saints against Brian Walden. Now, there's an interesting story, and quite a humorous one, because Brian Walden neither owned a car or drove. And it was at the time when there were lots of public meetings. Now, Dennis had got an aversion to doing public meetings, and so imposed upon me the responsibility of travelling round. And so I'd go to a public meeting and Brian Walden would be there, and we'd finish it, and Brian would say, are you going on to the next one? Yes, I am. Do you want a lift? So at the next venue, there was the extraordinary sight of the sitting MP, Brian Walden, getting out of a car with Minnis posters all the way round. He saw the funny side, I saw the funny side. I'm not too sure whether the electorate did it at all. The other abiding image is that, I don't know whether colleagues are aware, but to make an imprint in any way, shape or form of a note issued by the Bank of England is against the law. Well, Dennis knew that and printed some, and we gave them out outside St Philip's churchyard, and it wasn't very long before the old bill turned up. The old bill turned up and took Dennis away to have a conversation with him down at Steelhouse Lane. All was sorted out, but it did get the front page of the Birmingham Mail, which was the intention all along. Now, Dennis and I were very, very close. Roy Hattersley actually dubbed us the Terrible Twins. I could live with that at the time. There was hardly a day that went past when Dennis and I didn't speak on the phone. We were that close. We were close as brothers. So I hope you'll understand, colleagues, that when I had a letter on a Saturday morning in 1981 from Dennis telling me that he was joining the Labour Party, it was more than a blow to me. Dennis went on, as we have heard, to make a fresh career in local politics by being elected as the first Labour councillor for Edgbaston in 94. And he served there until 2002 and then became an honorary alderman. And in recognition of his work, he was awarded an OBE. Our paths crossed later because Dennis had a fairly peripatetic career before he became an agent with the Liberal Party. He then went on after that to work for Horizon Travel, and then a little bit later St Basil's in the wider sense. And it was while I had some work to do at St Basil's that our paths crossed again. But as Lisa Trickett has said, Dennis had an abiding passion for people who were less fortunate than himself. And the work that he did with the homeless, giving advice, was properly recognised. And it's a tribute to his social conscience that I like to think that all of us have, that he was recognised and his memory lives on. Could I associate my colleagues with the tributes that have been made and the condolences extended to Mike Huxley Evans and all Dennis's immediate family and wider friends. Thank you.
Thank you.